Greetings from the Fomori Vault on the plain of Thunder Junction, where the real crimes are the friends you target along the way. My name is John from the NTG Thoughtcast, and this is Pack It In, where we open up a booster pack and get as many cards as we can into your commander decks. Today, we have a play booster of Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Let's saddle up and break our way into this vault of magic cards. Here we are, Outlaws of Thunder Junction. I wanted to just show this pack, though, real quickly, in case none of you have ever seen this yet. This is the kind of, wall clip package that big box retail stores like Walmart and Target and things like that and how they use. They come in these nice, thick cardboard ones that then if you bust into this, just like so, you get your regular booster pack on the inside. They're for, theft prevention or whatever. I just thought it was an interesting thing to show off because it's a new, thicker frame than how they were coming before, pretty much up to Murders of Karlov Manor, which introduced the new play boosters, which is what this is. And these have been pretty cool, right? It was like a neat blend of all the things that we had with set boosters, with the drafting capabilities of draft boosters. This set in particular might have been a little extra bogged down with all the extra juice that you could have opened in the packs for limited and pre-release drafting, things of that nature. But as people like us here who are who are opening up this pack for the things that we can find inside, I don't know why I gave a thumbs up to the microphone. You guys are over here. Let's get into this then with Ankle Biter. A green mana for a 1/1 snake with Death Touch. Sure, these are cool. Death Touch Tribal has slowly kind of been working itself as a thing pretty much since, I'd say the real good stuff was from that one core set that had that hooded snake thingy, whatever, that cared about Death Touch, and then Finn the Fangbearer, who really wanted you to be playing Death Touch Tribal with him as well. These little guys are always great. This is more of a limited card than anything, but pretty cool all the same. Raven of Fell Omens, 1 and a black for a 1/2 bird with flying. When you commit a crime, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. This ability triggers only once each turn. Yeah, pretty cool. Under a crime enabler. Not an enabler, I guess I should say. A payoff, I suppose, for crimes. Crimes, in case you have not seen anything of this set before, committing a crime, as written on the reminder text of this card, that targeting opponents, anything they control, and or cards in their graveyards is a crime. So if you target anything at pretty much anything that your opponents control, that is considered committing a crime. So if this bird is down in play, you'll drain everybody for 1 life. It only happens once each turn because that was just kind of an inherent limitation that these kind of cards had to have. If you could just repeatedly fire off a trigger for committing crimes, there would be way too many boasted combos that you'd be able to find and pull off to do, especially off of enablers like this one that can act as a win as compared to some of the other ones that just repeatedly give you some advantage of some kind. Spring Splasher is 1 and a blue for a 2/1 frog beast. When it attacks, target creature defending player controls gets -3/-0 until end of turn. These are always really cool, these kind of effects that drop down the power. It basically forces your opponent then to either have some form of a combat trick to help get their effective blocker back up to snuff for being able to kill your creature, in which case then you have now done a 2-for-1 out of their hand of taking a lower powered creature and forcing them to use some kind of adaptive or combat trick of some capacity. Yeah, these are really, really neat, especially targeting into opponents' creatures that have keyword abilities on them, like First Strike, Double Strike, Death Touch, things like that. Shrinking them down in power helps really mitigate that downside of being able to swing into them. On a 2/1 is not crazy. Again, another draft filler likely here. Now here's a real cool one, Vengeful Townfolk. 2 and a white for a 3/3 human citizen. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control die, put a +1/+1 counter on Vengeful Townfolk. Yeah, there was a real popular, I believe it was called Unruly Mob from the Innistrad, all the Innistrad sets. That card somehow made its way into every block of Innistrad. And this was a very kind of similar card to this one we have here, that if something on your board dies, non-token or token, which is really, really cool with this one, and not limited to once per turn. You throw this down into a deck where you are taking advantage of killing off your own creatures for value or sending your tokens into combat for damage. This thing can start getting really, really big. And even just as a base, as is, it's a 3-mana 3/3. This comes down in blocks very well early on, and run it into a strategy, like I said, that uses sacrificing to your advantage. This thing can get really big out of nowhere. It's really cool. Thank you, Vengeful Townfolk. You've done your job. Thunder Salvo, 1 and a red for an instant. Deals X damage to target creature, where X is 2, plus the number of other spells you've cast this turn. Yeah, it's real neat. So, by itself, it deals 2 damage, and if you've been storming off a little bit over the course of your turn, this does extra damage. It's a shame it only hits a creature, so it's like just a removal spell, but it would probably be, again, just like the other, like if they had crime enablers that worked infinitely. If this worked off of like a storm scale and hit opponents, this could be a kind of card that'd be able to end somebody in an instant. Haha, as an instant. See what I did there? Thanks. I'll be here all week. Rodeo Pyromancers? Yes, Rodeo Pyromancers. 3 and a red for a 3/4 human mercenary that whenever you cast your first spell each turn, add red. This is a nice pair to go exactly with this Thunder Salvo that we just had right here. Your first spell basically replenishes itself of 2 red mana right back into your mana pool as you've cast it, letting you follow it up with another spell. This set has a lot of cast 2 things kind of motif to it, especially with the cards in this set that have plot. Plot comes off of exile for free. If you make that your first spell of the turn, that's a free cast that you've done that then this guy brings you out 2 extra red mana to then follow it up later. It's kind of like ramping, almost. It's really, really neat. Thanks. Form a posse. Here we go. Now we got some outlaw stuff. Red, white, and X. For a sorcery, create X 1/1 red mercenary creature tokens that have the mercenary token abilities that they have for this set. Tap, and a target creature you control gets 1/0 until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Yeah, these are great cards. Any of these kinds of ones that you can sink X mana into it and generate an X amount of creatures. This one's kind of unfortunate that it is in red and white as compared to some monocolored ones, like Secure the Wastes, I believe comes to mind. It's white and an X makes X 1/1 warriors. This is also a sorcery as well, so you can't catch anybody off guard with this one either, but if you just need a bunch of tokens for something like, say, the Vengeful Townfolk that we just had earlier, you need a bunch of tokens to go into a sacrifice outlet of some capacity, here you are. Here's your X spell that can make a whole bunch of those. Let's take you for a ride. 2 and a red for a sorcery. Take for a ride has flash as long as you've committed a crime this turn. We talked about crime already, so if you've been able to do any of those, this spell has flash. So instant speed, kind of. What does it actually do? Gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature and it gains haste. Act of treason. These are always fantastic. 90% of the time you will always see these at sorcery speed, just because being able to steal an opponent's creature at instant speed can make for some really hefty blowouts in combat. So when you have the effects that do allow you to cast them at instant speed naturally without having any other kind of like shenanigans down in your playing field, these are always cool to take note of. All you have to do is commit a crime, which is able to be done off of abilities, mind you, as well. So if you hold up a tapped activated ability of some capacity for your opponent's turn that just targets them for something, like a damage pinger, things of like that, they just target one of them, then they go to their combat, fantastic. You act of treason, one of the things that either has not gone to combat or has gone to combat. Here's a fun little rules interaction for some of you who may not know that. If you are being attacked and you gain control of the creature that was attacking you, it is now removed from combat. And a spell like this untaps it for you as well. So this fogs away one creature coming at you, can now be used as a blocker against something else that is coming at you. It's a very, very powerful blowout if you can make these work super well. I'm a big fan of instant speed act of treason. Full steam ahead. 3 and double green for a sorcery. Until end of turn, each creature you control gets +2/+2 and gains trample, and this creature can't be blocked by more than one creature. Wow. You talk about really, again, I guess full steam ahead, full plunge. That's what commander people are like. I alpha strike, I full swing, full send, that kind of thing. What a way to get that done here, honestly, right? Trample. So when you can only throw one blocker at something with trample, your thing with trample might as well read unblockable 90% of the time anyway, because like, what good is throwing a 1/1 under a 7/7 that has trample? You take one less point of damage. I've made this case before that in most case scenarios, trample reads as unblockable. And granting to all of your creatures that they cannot be blocked by more than one, that's huge. If you've got a big enough board off of something like, say, that Forma Posse that we were just showing earlier, this can absolutely end a game for you. It's very, very cool. We have our first rare in the pack, the Key to the Vault. This was a card that Jared was talking about in our review roundup episode that if you have not seen before, you should check that out. It's a very fun episode we did on the Thoughtcast podcast. Thoughtcast. See what we did there. The Key to the Vault itself, then, is 1 and a blue for a legendary artifact equipment. It equips for 2 and a blue, and when the equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, look at that many cards from the top of your library. You may exile a non-land card from among them, put the rest on the bottom in a random order, and you may cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost. This is a really cool thing. I talked about this in that podcast, as a matter of fact. It's very reminiscent to the reality chip, where you have to do a little bit of a setup to get it like onto a creature and start getting things going with that. But if you can get this launched down onto the right creature that is able to either go through unblockable or deal lots of damage all at once, this can get you just free card advantage. I'm not a huge fan of it because it's like, if you're assigning combat damage to somebody, you're already in a position to be like winning the game against them anyway. So this is certainly one of these kind of cards that, given the height of where it could go, is kind of win more. But if this is just being slapped onto a 1/1 or a 2/2 that can't be blocked, being able to just go 2 cards off the top, find a non-land among it, and cast it for free, that's kind of good value, right? Because people are more inclined to let 1 or 2 damage go through, and especially if they can't block it, things like Slitherblade and Merfolk Shorestalker, things like that, Invisible Stalker, cards that are little and just have unblockable naturally to them. Those are great Voltron targets for things like this. Great exponential value. We have another rare in here. Vraska Joins Up. Black and a green for a legendary enchantment. As it enters the battlefield, you put a death touch counter on each creature you control. And whenever a legendary creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Whack. This is so cool. We were just talking about with Full Steam Ahead just a little bit ago about if you give all your things trample, now you're going to be getting through with all kinds of damage. Trample and Death Touch is a fantastic combination of keywords that you just assign 1 point of damage to whatever is blocking it, and everything else tramples right past. So if they all have Death Touch, and even if they don't have trample, you make a board of Death Touchers, most people are more inclined to just let their things live than trade way further down the scale than what they normally could. Death Touch on your board is wacky. There's lots of creatures that float around in the game that, if they don't naturally have Death Touch, if you grant them Death Touch, the abilities and effects that they can do really shoot up in value on how well they do. And then the bonus of this one as well, like all the other join up cards that care about a Legendary Matters theme, this one allowing your legendaries to draw you cards, that's super cool as well. If you have that as a theme into your deck, this is a fantastic card to consider throwing into it, because it just, even outside of the Death Touch counters thing, gives you card advantage as you hit with your legendary creatures. That is crucial to a commander deck to be successful. Really, really cool card here. Our bonus sheet card for the breaking news is Endless Detour. Green, white, and a blue for an instant. The owner of target spell, non-land permanent, or card in a graveyard puts it on the top or bottom of their library. These are really cool. Working down the ladder here, targeting a spell That's really, really cool. Can sometimes work in a niche scenario where this can be targeting, more or less. This can target a thing that says it can't be countered. Because the effect here that says that the spell goes to the top or the bottom, that's not countering a spell. That's moving the spell to a different zone. So this is a cool card baseline that is able to counter uncounterable spells. Really, really cool. Instant speed graveyard hate as well. That one, unfortunately, is kind of probably the worst mode that this one is able to do because the controller of the card gets to pick where it goes. So if there's, let's say, trying to reanimate something out of their graveyard, you target it with this, and they choose to put it on top, they're kind of effectively getting what they wanted anyway, so that's the worst mode of it. But also then just an unsummon, being able to pick anything up off the board that's out of your way, even if it's for a turn. Sometimes a turn is all you need to turn a game around in your favor. This card's really cool. Not a fan of this one costing Bant, though. It means it goes in very few decks, and these kind of colors are not traditionally the ones that are kind of control heavy, so I really, really like this card's effect. I really don't like the colors that it's in. That is unfortunate. Our foil card we have here is Deep Muck Desperado. 2 and a blue for a 2/4 Hominid Mercenary, that whenever you commit a crime, each opponent mills 3 cards. This ability triggers only once each turn. Yeah, just like the birds. Again, if it had infinite crime, this would be able to just mill somebody out indefinitely, but this is really, really cool. Just target them with a thing. It's just like some of those other traditional, like, mill crabs that we've seen in a variety of mill decks before. Target them with anything, and if you can, continually, if you have like an effect down of some kind that lets you to commit a crime on your turn and off turn, this thing is milling 6 cards of rotation for 1v1. And if we're talking multiplayer, like Commander, if you're able to target the same person on each person's turn, then that's like, depending on how many players you have, that's tons of mill you're able to pull off each turn. That's kind of cool. I really like that. Also, more Hominids. Hominids are great. They're crab people. We love crab people. Land in here, Jagged Barrens. It is a desert. These are really, really cool. These have been called crime lands a lot recently, just because this is kind of what deserts all do. And deserts was the theme of this set because Western. It enters tapped, taps for a black or a red, and when it enters the battlefield, 1 damage to target opponent. That's a crime. That's desert for you. The desert slogan. Desert is crime. These are really cool. If you need a desert fixing, there you go. And there's our Mercenary token. Mercenary, crap card. Woo, goodbye, token. So the easy choices, I would say, is Vraska joins up, as talked about, giving your legendaries card advantage, throwing a Death Touch counter across your entire board. That is really, really cool. We enjoy that a lot. Because the Death Touch counters go to every creature. It doesn't have to be legendary creatures. So if you're just looking for a card that is able to grant your entire board Death Touch all in one go, this is a great piece to use for that. Let's see here. Full Steam Ahead can certainly be very, very cool. Probably in like a token deck of some kind that is boosting up the cards, or like boosting up the power, I should say, of a wide board of tokens. This could definitely be a game ender for nothing else, like not a budget version of Craterhoof, I guess, but the fact that your things cannot be blocked by more than one creature, if you have them big enough with trample, this will just kill people, I think, personally. That's a very cool ability. Usually not a fan of active treason cards in Commander, just because you've got a bunch of different players who are doing all kinds of different cards, and just stealing one creature for a turn is usually pretty bad. But the fact that this one could potentially be 3 mana instant speed, get control of a creature, that definitely makes it a little bit higher up on the value scale, I think, personally. And then maybe outside of that, I think as we talked about, if you have the right combat strategy lined up, Key to the Vault can certainly put in some good work, allowing to, like I said, throw onto, like, say, a small creature and smacking that one in for even trying to go 1, 2, 3 cards deep and potentially get a free card out of it as you're connecting, that can be very, very helpful. Free card advantage for any kind of deck that is looking to get permanents down in play, trying to do multiple spells in a turn, doing combat-related things, right? The Sultai Grand Larceny deck has that Felix 5 boots, that something connects off of this, you get your double trigger. That's incredible. Play it with anything that cares about casting from exile. You know, we've been making that new Passionate Archaeologist list as well, so those kind of things are really effective on that as well. Yeah, that's a very cool card to have in your combat style deck. Again, especially with that Felix 5 boots, being able to double trigger that's really, really cool. So there we have it. We've got ourselves Thunder Junction. That's what we would be playing out of this pack. Thank you so much for being part of this one. I'm very glad that you all are really much enjoying this. I'm having so much fun doing these pack opening things. I'm going to be getting a new a new catalog, excuse me, of packs here real soon. We're going to have some spicy stuff coming, so stay tuned for that. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you all appreciate what we've been doing here. We appreciate all of you. Seriously, you all are great. Send me some comments, some likes, and all that stuff down in the comments below, and we'll catch you next time on Pack It In.